good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. We are going to give it one more bash to have our interview with Kinga so that we can discuss a little bit more in depth as a follow-on about family constellations and also a little bit more about fate. Hello, Kinga. I see she is online and hopefully will be joining us shortly. Let me just pull that up a bit. There we
Can
go.
you see me?
Yay. Yes,
Can
I
you
can
hear
see you perfectly.
me?
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Are you?
Good, good, good. Very good indeed, thank you. And sorry about the other day. Yeah, I think the internet gods and Mercury retrograde were just not on our side. So hopefully everybody plays ball today.
Yeah, we were right on the dot with fate, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah,
It meant
we're
to
just talking
be,
about
so
fake.
yes.
So, okay, let's dive right in. So, the last time, as in last year when we spoke, we chatted, we touched briefly on family constellations, and I'd love to delve more into that and how that actually affects people and their behavior. So, without further ado, please take it away.
Thank you. So, yes, partially we mentioned it on Monday that
Mm.
family constellation is actually now moving into be called like systemic constellation or systemic work, and
Mm-hmm.
it looks as our life as a system, like the planetary system. So astrology works with, I believe, not with the effects on the planets on us, like the retrograde. It's more that this
Mm-hmm.
energy is projected out there, so they show us, okay, this is what's happening inside in you. Like you have to go back and kind of recheck things from your past. So, so constellation is also systemic work like that. That we look at the baby when the baby is born, and it's born into a family system, and also it's born
Right.
into a society, a race, a country, a continent,
Mm.
a planet Earth. So we can go further out. So it not doesn't just work with the family, but mainly what is gonna happen, our first influence in our first 7 years is obviously coming from our family system. And most of the things which we kind of believe that is our fate, that comes from the family, and it's being carried on by generation, and nobody knows anymore where is it coming from. The only thing we see in our life that normally one of the feeling is that I'm stuck, a certain stuckness. It can be financially, relationship, can't find a partner,
Mm.
sickness, can't move, like even though I do everything, I cannot heal from this sickness. It keeps on coming back. And other thing, it can be that almost feeling like burdened, like I am carrying more. This fate is too heavy for me. It feels like that is too much. So now in the systemic work, one of the basic things is that we all strong enough to carry our own fate. Like they say, that you don't get more than you can handle. It only gets so heavy when we actually try to carry somebody else's fate as well.
Mm.
Okay, so like in South Africa, we could go with the, being part of the struggle.
Yep.
No, Now it changed, so the last kind of generation, 2 generation, there is a big change on that. But if you still carry that struggle, even though there is a lot of opening and green light and support, it's still that burden is going to be carried. So it often happens that people who were previously victim of the fate, what they, victim of perpetrator, they carry on generation and generation being a victim. Even though, you don't have to be a victim anymore. That belongs to a previous, they were a victim of a very, very difficult fate. But they actually also not victims because they survived, isn't it?
Yes, very true.
They would, if they would have been not so strong to survive even that difficult phase, we would not be here. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So constellation, in the talk I talk about the basic rules of constellation and how it looks into our faith, but just to mention it a little bit that in the system everybody has a right to belong. So if you want to be part of the system, you always have a right to belong. There is an order in the system, so everybody has their rightful place. And there is being safe in society. So to be safe in society, we often want to be loyal again back to this family belief system. It's safer to be like than different. So,
right.
Okay, so we're gonna choose often the safety, and we're looking for safety. So what we do with the constellation work and the systemic work so we just not leading the constellation, the client leads the constellation, the client system leads the constellation. Does it make sense?
It does, and apologies, Kinga, but you were dropping out a little bit there, but I think I got the gist of it. My question would be then, is that what you mean by your fate not necessarily being your own, because you're being influenced by your family, your societal constellations?
Yes, and also there is something scientifically proven. They call it epigenetics. So our emotions and the way we experience life is going to affect from our DNA what we're going to choose to use. So we're not using the word, and then can become generationally. So, but with the systemic work, we say that it's actually you can change the DNA of your family system. Because if you carry again an emotion is coming down to you from your ancestors, that emotion can be given back, that faith can be given back with respect to your ancestors, and you can be unburdened. And you can make a different choice what you're going to use from DNA. So what it used to be your weakness, it can be your strength. It can become your strength.
That is so terribly interesting, Kinga, because that lends scientific evidence to the idea that we truly are the creators of our own reality. We have the ability to choose what we take on board and what we don't. And we have the ability to choose what kind of reality we want to create. Like you were even saying earlier, with people getting not getting more than what they can handle and what they can bear. It's that exact thing. If you are able to accept your reality, and you are then able to take that acceptance and move it into co-creation, you really do have the opportunity to create whatever kind of life you want as soon as you're able to let go of, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I'm misunderstanding you, but as soon as you're able to let go of the stuff that isn't yours,
Yep.
all the baggage that isn't yours, you can then really start to create a beautiful life for yourself.
And just to, this is 100% true, and just to clarify it, okay, so what is not yours, you're taking it on out of love towards the family. So there is no, there is no guilty party here that somebody was looking for a difficult fate. What you take on, or you only take it on in support of, how a child believes that with magical thinking I can change, like even if my family's life is, I don't know, maybe my family is poor, but I can just do this and money's gonna come and we're gonna be wealthy. So it's a similar thing that I can balance. I can take the whole system on my shoulder and I can take it. Okay. So, and that love, it has to be rechanneled into the right direction.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm loving this approach, and I think for a lot of people it would be very eye-opening for them to see how and where they're able to create a much simpler, much happier life for themselves by learning how to channel their emotions and their situations more adeptly. Because something that stuck out for me a little bit earlier that you were saying is, if someone survives, then they're not really a victim. They're a survivor because they've survived a situation. And I think that so often, and I'm guilty of this as well, we tend to allow ourselves to become victims of life. And by that, I mean, we literally just, we take going to the flow to a new level where we just accept absolutely everything. And, I have no control, and therefore life just happens to me. And so I just kind of have to, what's the saying? I have to play with the cards I've been dealt. But that's not entirely true. You can reshuffle the deck. You can make sure that the cards that you've dealt is actually your cards and not somebody else's. So that is, I think, a really beautiful idea that people can use to get their heads around being a co-creator in their own reality.
Yeah, and
now,
you know what? We say idea, but this is actually very practical work, because when you do the work, what we're looking for is actually here and now in space and time. So we work with spatial distances, and we work facilitators, and we also work with the body. And we are looking for that relief in the body. So it's not just an idea, it's practically you feel the release in your body, what was held there for so long. So this is what, when we get that somebody says, I have this enormous amount of peace in me, or I can feel that like something was lifted from my shoulders, or suddenly my lower back pain is gone. This is when we know that it's moving. So it's not just an idea, it's actually physically can be felt.
yes.
The difference.
And so it's very interesting that you say that, because the discussion that I started to have last night with another speaker actually on the Wellness Lifestyle Conference was very much around the mind-body connection, and how the energetic body and the physical body really do have a massive role, an interconnected role to play. And then I further went on, and I was chatting to a friend of mine last night, and she was saying, oh, I'm having the following physical issues. And immediately I said to her, well, that's not physical. It's your physical body reacting to your energetic body's dis-ease and discontent. And if you manage to resolve that, you will be able to get rid of the physical ailments that are currently plaguing you. And she said, oh, well, it can't be that. It must be, she wanted a very physical reason for why she was having it, but specifically issues with sleeping. And I said, well, no, it's, the heaviness in your chest and all of that. That's very much emotional issues and trauma that's affecting your energetic body, and your physical is feeling it. So you're right. It's not just an idea. It's very much work that needs to be done. And I think a lot of times it's work that we overlook. And again, it's also stuff that we tend to just live with. And so actually, now this is interesting. The discussion I was having yesterday with another speaker who's just come onto our live Hummingbird hypnotherapy. Hi there, I'll wave to. Hi there. And we were talking about how this affects people, and they don't even realize it because it's become just their norm. So the stress that's affecting their energetic body starts to settle into the physical. You get back pain and headaches and all the rest of it, and irritability, and you think it's all just normal, or it's just physical ailments and it's just stuff that you have to deal with. But it's actually so much deeper than that. There's so much more going on. So I come yet again full circle back to the fact that it's so beautiful to be having these discussions with people in a similar space who are starting to take a holistic approach to health. So we're no longer treating mental health as just mental, and we're not treating physical health as just physical. We're looking at the human being as a whole and going, how do we proceed to heal this?
So you see, in the systemic work, this is one of the things which we hear, that this modern society is almost like we cut off. So our mind and our body is not aligned anymore. So in systemic work, everything is about alignment, order. Remember, I said everybody. So when you align, then the energy can flow. It can flow in the system. So you don't have to imagine that we call in all the people from your grandmother or the great-grandmother who came from whatever, but they all in us, in our DNA. Okay, so again, like the planets, it's like projected out, and you can see that, or the facilitator can help you to see that there is something there. Okay, and kind of that's how we know that it has to go back, let's say, the great-grandmother. Just to, like, I had an interesting story with a lady. She came for a constellation, and she's like a gypsy. She can't stay at one place. Even in her own house, she moves from one room to the other. So even in her own house, she's never at home, or she was. And moves on and moves on and moves on. And what we ended up in the constellation, which is very difficult to explain how did we end up there. But she actually, her ancestor is a French Huguenot who was a noble, or no, he was a French noble who left when it was the revolution. And he was going from country to country and couldn't find a land for which he called my home. So she was linked in with that person, and out of love, she was recreating in her life what that person experienced. Losing home, losing title, losing name, all of that.
Amazing. So something that I maybe don't want to say, but I'm going to anyway, is I find this even more intriguing because yesterday evening I was reading a book by actually one of the speakers, again, another speaker that's going to be on the Wellness Lifestyle Conference, Michael, God, I've gone blank on his name, Michael Bradford. And the book is on mastering the human condition. And in that book, he was saying, he started to talk about soul groups and how he's talking more about reincarnation and that sort of thing, and how souls will come to heal things that have happened to ancestors or people in the soul group from previous times. And yes, again, and I'm getting chills, I think I'm on the right track. Yes, again, coming back to your points about epigenetics and the fact that that is very much encoded into our DNA.
Yes.
You know, it's there. It's a hard copy print of what has gone before. And it is very much our, I don't want to say responsibility because I don't want to put anything on anyone listening to this, but I think it would definitely help all of us if took the time to look at how we can heal those generational wounds. So
yeah, yes, and I believe it is our responsibility, because family constellation is very much about responsibility. So you leave the responsibility where it belongs and you take yours. So that's your fate. You know, you take responsibility for own decisions, even if it happened in the past that you made a decision where something was not healed yet, you say, okay, I still take for my part, and I leave your part with you, because that you can't carry. But else's responsibility. But you know, since '95 there is a change in the world, and we're moving towards this unity consciousness.
yes.
So I agree with you. Yes, I do believe that it's our responsibility.
No, I really like that.
Still here. Yeah, you're still here, okay? Because I just see your little circle going. So yeah.
Yes, same. I see the same for you. I think the internet is dropping, but all good.
Yes, yeah, a little bit. So
yes. But no, this has been
it's our responsibility, but it's also a unique opportunity that we have so many methods we can work with.
Absolutely.
And get to the kind of the same point from different angles, and we can all support each other with the different methods, and I think that's why the conference is a wonderful place, because everybody comes from different angles, but the intention is the same.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, Kinga, it's always a pleasure to have you on our live interviews. I'm really excited that you are going to be a speaker again on the Wellness Lifestyle Conference. So just one more time from the top, for those listening or catching the replay, you can find the link to the Wellness Lifestyle Conference in my bio. And for those who aren't aware, Kinga, why don't you just share your contact details one more time for us? And yet, as always, it will be in the comments as well.
Thank you. So my company called Inner Luminescence, so that shine from inside out, and you can find me on innerluminescence.com and Facebook also Inner Luminescence, Instagram Inner Luminescence. So, and I'm Kinga Szilagyi. Looking forward meeting you all. So, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kinga, and we will speak very soon. Have a great day.
Looking forward.
Thanks.
Thank
yes.
you.
Sure.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.